We're going to look at a few different options we have for formatting numbers. We'll look at a very common format application, the comma style. We'll find out how to control the number of decimals that are displayed, and we'll also look at the general format, the number format, the currency, and the accounting format. Beginning with the comma style, I'm going to left click the number that we're going to be dealing with here. 5025.211454. It's a random number. I just made it up. I just wanted to have some decimal places to deal with. Going over to the right, we're going to apply the comma style to this number. And the way to do that is to left click the comma. It says comma style. The screen tip tells us what it is. In the number group on the home tab, left clicking that, two things happen. The thousand separator is applied to the number, and the number is rounded to the nearest two decimal places. There's an important point to be made in that the number wasn't changed. The content of the cell is still, as you can see in the formula bar, 5025.211454. But the way that number is portrayed has changed. So the format has changed, but the number itself, the content, is the same. Arrowing over to D7, applying the comma style one more time, we automatically get two decimal places when we apply the comma style. Sometimes we don't want any, especially if we have whole numbers to start with. And we want to apply the thousand separator. We can left click the comma style, but we'll get 0.00 added to the end of every single number. This is a way to get rid of that. It's to left click this command button, decrease decimals, twice. On the other hand, we can increase the number of decimals once we apply the comma style as well. Down in the second block of information, we're going to look at the general format. The general format is the default format that's applied. This is where we started, was the general format. Everything on this worksheet was the general format until I changed it. D11, E11, and F11 are in the general format. But we want to make this different. We want to change this. We want to change this to the number format. And one way to do this is to left click the drop-down menu. Where I see the number format is the second option. But we also get some previews of the other options. Currency has a $sign. Accounting has a $sign. The short date, long date, and time are actually a function of the number 5000. And when we get to dates in the subsequent movie, I'll explain that. Percentage, fraction, scientific, and so on are all an outgrowth of the content of that cell, which is 5000. So I want the number format. I'll left click that, and we don't get the thousand separator, but we get two decimal places displayed, and we already know how to get rid of those. We can left click this twice. So we change this to the number format. I'm going to launch the Format Cells dialog box by left clicking the dialog box launcher in the number group, and point out that we can also change the number of decimal places using the spin button, or manually entering a number into the field. I'll change that back to 2. And we can also apply the comma separator, the thousand separator, by left clicking that checkbox. We get the preview showing above where it says sample, and when we left click, we have those formatting options applied to our content. I'm going to change that back to the number format so we don't lose our original formatting style. And left click and select E11, do the drop down and apply the currency style. It looks just like the preview did. Selecting F11 and the drop down, I'm going to apply the accounting style. But before I do, the preview for currency and accounting look exactly the same, but they're not. I'm going to left click and apply the accounting format style and point out that there are two differences. One is obvious. The $sign is left justified. The other is not so obvious, and that is that the number is not quite right justified. There's a bit of a space between the right edge of the cell and the last zero in the number as compared to the currency option. This can improve the readability of the numbers. When you separate the $sign from the number, it sort of doesn't get confused as a number that's part of the larger number. So we know we can apply formatting styles to numbers that already are in our spreadsheet. But we can also format the spreadsheet before we input numbers. Now this is in the general format style, which is the default style for the entire worksheet and the entire workbook. This was our starting point. Everything was in the general format. So when I put a number in there and right arrow over, I get a number that looks exactly like the number above, as you would guess. D12 is in the number format. When I enter a number, 5,000, and right arrow over, I get 5,000 displayed in exactly the same way as in D11. Currency is going to be the same thing, 5,000, and accounting style, same thing, I'll arrow down. But there's yet one more way to drive the formatting in some cases. In the currency style, we can put a number in the worksheet and apply the style to it. We can apply the style to the worksheet and then put a number into the worksheet, or we can have both things happen at the same time. If I begin my input with a $sign and then put 5,000, I'm going to enter, I get the currency style, sort of. I'm calling it the currency style because the $sign is right alongside the number, but I also get no decimal places, and I get that space on the right side of the cell, just like we got with the accounting style. So this sort of morphs the currency and accounting style together. We also have several different options to display negative numbers. And I'll launch the dialog box, choose the number formatting style, and the first negative number option is chosen by default. I'll left click and select that. It shows the number with 2 decimal places. It begins with a minus sign. We can also have the negative number portrayed with parentheses, or we can have parentheses and the font be red. Currency has some of the same options. Left click to launch the dialog box, left click currency, choose the first one. We have the comma, the $sign. The second option, we have parentheses, arrowing down, left clicking to launch the dialog box, select currency. The third option, similar to the number style, only there's a $sign, parentheses, and it's red font. Accounting has only one option, and that is to display the number with parentheses, and the $sign goes all the way over to the left. And now we see what probably is the reason for that little space that's left on the right side of the cell, and that is to make room for the parentheses if there should be the need to put one there. So portraying the positive numbers and leaving that space exactly aligns the negative numbers with the positive numbers. There's another thing you can do with the accounting formatting style, and that's apply it to a text entry. Both of these are in the general formatting style because that's the default that's applied. I'm going to apply the accounting style to this text, and actually in the preview you can tell what's going to happen. It actually shows it. It's subtle, but it creates a space on the left side. If you have your columns bordered by a line, it may improve the readability if you offset the text a little bit. And this is an easy way to do that so that you don't have to put a blank space at the beginning of every single word. So we took a look at the comma style that inserts a comma and rounds a number to 2 decimal places. We also looked at changing the number of decimal places in the number group by increasing and decreasing the decimals. We looked at the number style. We looked at formatting numbers after they were already in our spreadsheet using the number, currency, and accounting format styles. We formatted the worksheet before we put the numbers in, and then we formatted the worksheet while we were putting a number in the currency style, changed a little bit to accommodate parentheses around negative numbers, which is an accounting style attribute. We also looked at 3 different ways to portray negative numbers using the number style, the currency style, and we have one option with the accounting style. And lastly, we applied the accounting style to text to cause it to be offset a little bit from the left side of the cell.